Council of the Municipality of the County of Annapolis. We'll begin with roll call. District 1, please.
Bruce Cotw.
District 2, Brian Fuzzacone.
District 3, Dustin Hensel.
District 4, Clyde Bartlett.
District 5, Lynn Mulner.
District 6, Alec Morrison.
District 7, David Hudson.
District 8, Michael Young.
District 9, Wendy Carey.
District 10, Brad Redmond.
District 11, Diane Bennett.
Thank you. Are there any disclosures of interest? Any comments on the order of the day? I'd like a motion to go in camera, please, in accordance with section 22, 2H, public security. Here we are. We'll carry on with the meeting, and the next is item 6.1, commercial activity on municipal property bylaw. Deputy Warden, please.
I move to recommend that municipal council authorize the clerk to issue a vendor on municipal property permit for the 2024-25 fiscal year to Tom Marshall for the operation of Tom's Pool Bus Canteen at the Annapolis River Causeway Park in accordance with CS Commercial Activity on Municipal Property Bylaw.
Yes,
Seconded by
yes.
Councilor LeBlanc. Discussion. All in favor?
Just,
Sorry, excuse me.
just before we vote on it, so this is we're recommending to council, but there's some question about allowing Mr. Marshall to open up prior to council, because council doesn't meet until the 21st. And so the issue is whether, as part of this motion, if council wishes staff to issue the permit early, forego the, whatever the timing is, to allow him to open up early, and as long as he has insurance in place, or are we sticking to the recommendation to go to council and he cannot operate until the 21st?
Following the bylaw.
Follow the bylaw.
That's all the bylaw. We spent all that on making that.
The Mother's Day or weekend, the long
That's
weekend,
part of the year,
which is a startup
And
period that would be, you know, really bad for this time.
now, Mr. Marshall, if I may.
Please.
Mr. Marshall did try to have his information into the county well before he thought he had it in. It's just that he didn't take into account the long weekend at the first of the last month. So, you know, staff just didn't get at it, so that he should learn to get it in 2 weeks earlier, I guess.
2 months ago.
But nonetheless, you know, he's done well over there the last couple of years, and he actually gives us a service over there. And Mother's Day is a big thing, it's a big part of the year. I would ask for council's indulgence to let him in before.
Okay, hold on, we have a motion on the floor. If council wishes to do something different, then the motion needs to be amended.
Well, I would offer an amendment.
Okay?
One moment, to recommend the council allow, and further, by allowing, Mr. Marshall
Requesting staff to allow Mr. Marshall to operate,
Let's do the motion.
I'm trying to help him make an amendment.
Yeah, okay.
It's really, it shouldn't be that hard. And it would come at the end of it, I would think.
Issue the permit prior to the council.
Yeah. Yeah, and further, yeah, well, and further, issue a permit before council.
Or Mother's Day is this weekend, if I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
How can we be recommending the council
Well, one thing,
and then doing something
yeah, I
that
don't
is,
know.
and if we had two
Take
motions,
We have a separate council meeting following. Special.
What we had before. Is it just remove council?
The committee of the whole is not a decision-making body, it's a recommending body.
Oh, so this is, see, I'm a little bit stumped here, if I may. This says municipal council, but this is a meeting of committee of the whole.
yes.
If I may speak on the S6 commercial activity on municipal property bylaw. Committee of the whole is where you make recommendations. You receive information from staff. You make a recommendation because you are a recommending body. You make a recommendation to municipal council to make a final decision. This is a bylaw decision that the recommendation is to ask municipal council to direct staff to issue a permit.
Mm-hmm.
This body is not, this body is a recommending body. So technically, if you wanted to do that, you would have to call a special session of council and address this at a special session of council to direct staff to do it before the council comes on the 21st of May.
So what I would suggest is if that is council's wish, that's simply, so the motion is to recommend to council to issue the permit, so that's issue a vendor on this, but that's fine. I would simply suggest that council just make an amendment that simply says that in the interim, council requests that staff issue a temporary permit, not a real permit, but a temporary permit, effective tomorrow for a 2-week period. And then if council approves on the 21st, it gets a final permit, but if they don't, then this temporary permit expires in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Essentially, council amendment just to the issue, you request staff to issue a temporary permit, which isn't part of the bylaw, because the bylaw doesn't allow for a temporary permit, we're just giving you special permission for 2 weeks.
Could we just have a special council meeting after committee of the whole?
Well, would have, special council meeting has to be advertised 3 days notice and all that stuff. You have to have an emergency meeting, and it would qualify for an emergency.
No, so why can't we just do what you just said?
Yeah. So that's an amendment to the motion.
I would make that amendment.
Have you,
Issue a temporary.
And that,
I would move.
that
Council.
And that committee of the whole requests, because it's committee of the whole requests staff issue a temporary vending permit effective tomorrow for a 2-week period.
Yeah, that's it. I would make that motion.
okay, Councillor Gunn, seconded by Councillor Longmire, discussion. Counselor Cotw.
So I'm not straight on our policy allows him to open, he would have got it in earlier. The bylaw, so the bylaw doesn't have to change. We just have to educate the person to say, put your application in November. You're gonna go in May anyway. Put your application in 2 or 3 months beforehand. Don't wait till the last dime.
Well, he thought, last year he missed the Mother's Day as well, and, because,
Permit runs out in March.
and this year, he put it in even earlier.
The permit runs out at the end of March.
Pardon me?
His permit runs out at the end of March. It runs from April 1st to March 31st.
That makes sense, why we didn't,
Further discussion?
On
All
the
in favor?
amendment.
All in favor of the amendment?
yes.
Opposed? Now, all in favor of the motion as amended? Thank you.
Thank you. 6.2, fire services capital funding, the suggested motion.
So the new policy is in your agenda package on page 6, to the end of the package. There's no staff report attached with it. The recommendation is for municipal council to approve policy 117, fire services capital funding, 7-day notice.
Deputy Warden. Moved, seconded by Councilor Cotw. Discussion,
Let me just explain.
please.
I'll just explain. So as well at the last fire services meeting, there was discussion around how fire departments access their capital account that we set aside money for each year. And there's been several comments about it's complicated, it's convoluted, it's not very efficient or very easy for the fire department. So this is simply staff's recommendation as to how we simplify it. Essentially, under section 5, we allocate a certain amount of money in the budget every year. Doesn't say how much, but it's up to council each year how much they allocate. And then each department has a certain amount of money in their capital budget. And then they know how much that is, and they can simply submit a letter of request to the manager of protective services to withdraw it, because it's their money. And then as long as it meets the criteria of what they're gonna buy within a couple weeks, it gets approved. So it doesn't have to go back to council, doesn't have to go through the very complicated process we have now. They can take the money out, buy a fire truck, whatever they wanna do. And they have to report within 30 days after buying the truck that they've bought it, under item 7 for reporting, and it also indicates the second paragraph, they have to show it in their financial statement. Okay, some of the financial statements now don't reflect that, and so this is just an accountability issue that shows how they're going to account for it. The other significant portion of this policy, under definition, includes what a fire apparatus is, which includes a pumper tanker, aerial rescue truck, or similar vehicle, but does not include non-fire related trucks for medical first response, boats, trucks, utility vehicles, all-terrain vehicles, etc. Okay? Because right now there's discrepancy over what's eligible and what isn't eligible. And this policy simply says the money can be used for firefighting apparatus only. Okay? If they wish to buy another vehicle or some other type of apparatus for other purposes other than firefighting, they'd have to fundraise for it or find other sources of revenue for that. Okay? And then item 8 shows what's eligible. So it shows purchase or acquisition of a new or used fire apparatus that's replacing a current apparatus, so they can't buy a new one and add to their fleet. Because the fire services study we had done showed that there was more than enough vehicles and apparatus now. There was no need to add to the fleet, so this shows we will fund for one that's replacing one, and the replacement vehicle is 10 or more years old. So we want to make sure they're replacing older vehicles and not newer ones. Okay? And then the second B is capital upgrades to a fire hall building, which is in excess of $100,000. They can use the money out of the capital reserve for that as well. Okay, and they can do it once every 10 years, so they're not using, we don't want to see them use it for maintenance costs, and every year or two take money out of it, and then when the time comes they need to purchase a truck, they don't have any money in the capital fund. But there may be a time when they need to spend I don't know, a couple $100,000 or $500,000 for a significant upgrade. This allows them, if that's their priority, they can use it to spend it on their building as opposed to their fire. So this narrows down the focus that if we're setting aside money every year to buy new fire trucks, that we're narrowing down the focus that requires them to buy fire trucks with it, and not use that money for other purposes, and then request more money from us for fire apparatus because they don't have enough money. There should be enough money in their capital reserve based on the funding model we have now to replace vehicles on a regular basis, because the capital reserve is very generous right now. Okay? So that's what the proposal is, to make it very simple, very streamlined as far as accessing money going forward in the future. And so they've requested this change, and so it's before you today at the special meeting in the hopes that we can share this with them on Monday night at the next meeting for their feedback, see if there's any additional changes. But this will be what's proposed today, and then we'll get some feedback on Monday night. And if there's any changes that need to be made, come final approval of council on the 21st, we'd be able to do that then.
It's good, although I think the feedback you're gonna hear is section 47.6. There isn't a fire department in the country that meets NFPA 1500. There's probably not one in the world.
That's not in the policy. That would be,
Policy on that?
that would be the old policy, I think.
Cool, literacy helps. Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yes, no, there's no reference to NFPA because, yeah, we're not going there.
Further discussion? Councillor Hudson, please.
Yes. Well, just for my clarification, I'm a little confused. Second paragraph, number 7. If the fire department borrows money to repay any additional costs associated with this capital purchase, can you give me an example of what that would be? Just to clarify, that's, I tried to put it in the financial statement, that's fine, but.
So if they have, say, $500,000 in their capital reserve and they want to use it to purchase a truck and the truck is $1 million,
Yeah.
then the additional money is the extra $500,000. So if they're going to borrow the other $500,000, they have to show us that they have the ability to repay the amortization payments for the additional $500,000 over the next 10 years or 15 years.
Okay, so they could be borrowing that money from a financial institution.
They would have to, yes, I would
Yeah,
assume, yes.
yeah, okay.
We want to make sure that we don't give them money to buy a truck and then they
No,
don't have the
no,
financial
no,
capacity
okay.
afterwards to pay the other payments off.
Further discussion? Dr. Campbell, please.
And the deputy warden tweaked me to reminding people that this is only repealing section 6 of the fire services policy. We're going to be bringing back the remainder of the old policy that deals with registration procedures and such in a month or so. So this is just repealing section 6 in the old policy that deals with capital funding.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Barco, please.
So does it need its own policy number if it's reviewing a section of another policy, or it should be cross-referenced?
No, it's a new policy, so it's numbered 117, and as Campbell said, when we bring back another one, it'll be policy 118, I think, is what the number's already been allocated, which will cover the remainder of the policy. So essentially, we're taking the policy and dividing it into two.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Okay, over in this